listener production.
Hello, Antoinette Lattouf here with the Weekend Briefing. And today's episode with dog lover and former maths star Clare Verrall is truly an emotional rollercoaster. While I have never laughed so much at a hilarious Taylor Swift superfan fail moment that she had, I was also incredibly saddened as Clare revealed the devastating toll being on reality TV has had on her life and the concerns she continues to have for current contestants. We cover so much in this gripping conversation. Her late diagnosis as being neurodivergent, and even her canine rescue charity that brings her so much joy. But most telling in this interview is Clare's continued determination to recover from some really devastating mental health woes. So just a trigger warning, this episode does talk about mental illness and suicide. And if you need help, Lifeline is there on 13 11 14. Let's get into it. Clare, welcome to the Weekend Briefing.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm a big fan of the show. It's very exciting to be here.
People might recognise you from one of the earlier seasons of Math, so let's get that out of the way. How do you feel about reality TV 8 years on from your own experience?
Horrific. I think what we're doing is basically, like, we look back in time at, say, the gladiators and the Christians versus the lions and how disgusting and bloody and horrific that was, that people would sit and watch that and cheer that on. We're doing the same thing. Because the fact of the matter is these people they say all the stuff about all the support you get. You don't. And you're not given any media training. You're just hurled into the absolute lion's den. It's completely manipulated. They say, well, they knew what they were getting into. You don't. You think you do. You don't. It's so twisted. And I know that because people will say, well, they can't make you say things you didn't say. Yeah, they can. I've watched it happen. And the way they cobble things together is crazy. And I haven't actually watched it since I did season 2, and it is a completely different show now, much more hyped up from the looks of things. And I tried to watch it for the first time this season. And the way that the words are cobbled together, the cadence of is so different for the sentence. It's like, then he went to... I'm like, how are people not realising this?
I understand, having worked in the media for some time, both in television and audio, that you might get the first half of a sentence and then do a cutaway to someone going, but really they're going, because someone told them there's no more tuna sandwiches, and put that towards something else. But you're suggesting that it's more direct in that it's chopping up sentences from what you've experienced.
Well, that's what happened with me, but watching the most recent seasons, they're not even trying. Like, usually you try and you pop in maybe one word or something like that. If you listen to it, the sentences don't even make sense. There's so many one of the sentences had so many different, I would say 6 different words in it. The whole sentence was cobbled together words. And it's when they're often not focused on the person, so it'll be looking at something else or something like that. And they can make you say things you didn't say out of context as well.
So what has it taught you? What has this whole experience taught you? About yourself? About that machine?
It's taught me a lot about resilience, which I already have. Also, I had to a degree because I lived an interesting life. But just that no feeling's final, I guess, is the biggest thing for me, because I did fall into I was very honest about my mental health after the show aired. A lot of people aren't because, and I know a huge number of people that not only from that show but other reality shows now, because we sort of meet trauma bond together. And everyone has different experiences, of course. So the reality TV machine, just how manufactured it is and that how scary it is, I think we will look back at this very unfavourably. I mean, even looking back on our own reality TV from 10 years ago, I mean, look at how we cheered on The Biggest Loser and look at how we look at that now.
Yeah.
Like, The Biggest Loser was one of the biggest shows. We had people who had problems with eating disorders.
It was a fat shaming show in many ways.
Not only fat shaming, but a lot of these people, they had eating disorders. It's not just, it's fat shaming and eating disorders. They stood them up there in underwear. It was horrendous. And that wasn't even very long ago.
Yeah.
At the moment, people are still very scared of their contracts, but as people start to break them and speak out, as it's starting in America, you may have heard it started a bit in America, but people are turning on those people because they don't believe it and they think, they just want their 15 minutes of fame. Like, I kept speaking about my mental health because I wanted to help others doing that was horrific for me. Every time I did that, I was taking myself back to square one. But I kept doing it because I'm like, I want to stop someone else from doing this and putting themselves in the situation. And I want people to know the fallout of this and how damaging it could be. And look, for myself, I just learned, well, I've always joked since I've seen it that I'm Dory from Finding Nemo. And 2 years ago when I was diagnosed with quite severe ADHD and autism, that made sense in the fact that I was always saying, I remember virtually nothing. It runs in my family. Yeah. But the other thing that she always says, which is just keep swimming, has been one of my things forever. And that's what I learned from reality TV, just keep swimming.
God love Dory. Who would have thought she would have been a pin-up girl for recovery and resilience?
Yeah. And look, she is a lot like me. She's pinging about. She's very annoying. She forgets everything. But in the moment of crisis, she really pulls it together and saves the day.
She does indeed. Look, a few friends of mine who have been on reality TV have a love-hate relationship with their time on reality TV because on the one hand, it's given them a platform and opened up opportunities that may otherwise never have happened. But on the other, even years on, they can't seem to get rid of that label or get rid of those questions. And, you know, ironically, I've started off asking you about that, even though I'm absolutely interested in asking you about other things.
Yeah.
Do you see it as both a privilege and a curse? Because you have a significant social following. You've been able to go and pursue things that you're really passionate about.
The funny thing is for me, I am very silly for this and I'm aware of my naivety and how stupid I am for this. I literally went onto the show without really thinking about any level of fame or platform. Remember, this was season 2. It was a different show. If you're saying that now, you're a liar.
Yeah, what season are they up to now? Like 10 or something?
I think 11, 500 billion. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who cares? It should stop. But people are like, we need real people on it, not the people for fame. And I'm like, no, because my season was all those people. We all horrendous. We did no, don't have that. You need to be someone who wants and can deal with that. When it comes to social platform, I have a lot of followers, but a lot of those came on after maths, weirdly. I don't monetize my platform at all. I'm not good at social media. I really just post TikToks because all my millennial age friends, because I'm 40, hadn't worked out TikTok yet, and I was just reposting the TikToks. Yeah. And they were like, this is the best. I'm like, I know, we didn't want to work out another app. I got you, peeps.
Well, fun fact from me, up until about 2 hours ago, because I do follow you on Instagram and I follow you because I like all your dog content and I like your political commentary. Up until a couple of hours ago when I was researching our interview, researching you, only then did I realise you were from MAFS. So you have a genuine fan and a follower here who had no idea that you were part of the MAFS franchise. So there you go.
That's great. And that's a funny thing. I mean, I've got a lot more followers but the thing is, it's just weird to me. Like, the idea of fame is so weird to me. I don't want anyone to know who I am. Like, seeing Taylor Swift walk through the airport in an umbrella, not even under she was in an umbrella. Like, that's not, I don't want to live in an umbrella. And it was horrendous for me because people feel like they own you when you have your 15 minutes of fame. They'll run up and grab you and take photos of you. And I had, from my experience prior, I'd just been attacked on the street and had quite bad PTSD. So it was pretty bad for me. So I kept having massive anxiety attacks everywhere because I was very nice to anyone who would come up and say hi, and they would hug me and grab me and, I'm autistic, please don't touch me, I hate it. So they'd grab me for photos and I'd smile and then I'd go and have a panic attack in the bananas at Coles where I belong.
I hope you ate one of those freebie ones that are meant for children.
I have done that before. I need a potassium. But yeah, it depends. And if you look at other people, like Abby Chatfield has done such incredible things. I think she's amazing in what she's done with her platform, and you are given the capability to do that. But I feel very blessed in that I have been able to, I guess, widen my platform to just talk endlessly about dogs because my friends get pretty sick of me. But yeah, I don't monetize my account. I make no money from my account. If I recommend something, it's because it's good. It'll usually say, not sponsored, just found it and awesome. And often then the company will come back and be like, do you want a code for get some money from it? And I'm like, sounds hard. And they're like, do you want a discount code for your followers? I'm like, yes. And then I just post that and then continually forget to repost it. I'm shocking at social media.
I do want to, you did make a comment in passing that I have to pick up on. You said that you're attacked in the street. And as I understand, that predated you don't have to talk about it if if it invokes too much trauma, but that was before reality TV, before or after?
if we do a chat about the trauma, we'll be here for years. Just generally. That was like a blip. Yeah. So I was walking my dog, my first time I've ever had a small dog. I have a rescue Frenchie called Dutchie, Von Spoonlot the third. And we were walking down the street, and it wasn't even dark, just to go to the dog park, and this guy jumped out from behind the bins at a block of apartments and grabbed me and tried to pull me into this car park and was like saying he was going to kill me and all this kind of stuff. But he did punch me in the face and broke my nose. But my nose has been broken so many times, and it was broken recently. I didn't get it fixed. When he punched me, he actually re-straightened it and fixed my breathing. So, cheers, random bro. But I fought him off, got him down, broke my toe, kicking him in the kidneys, picked up Dutchie and ran, and I don't remember anything for 3 weeks. I was on all the TV stations. I've watched it since. I was on the news because, has fought off attacker. The happiest victim you've ever seen in your life. No memory of it. So,
because the PTSD kicked in later.
Well, yeah.
I kicked in later.
Picked up Dutchie, no memory, gone. I don't know. I went and got a pap smear in that 3 weeks because I said to my mum, because I've had some things happen in the past, I'm like, I think I might be in the PTS trauma part where I don't remember anything. Due for a pap smear. I said, I'm going to go do that now because I don't want to have to worry about it or remember it. She's like, good idea.
Oh, wow.
Just keep swimming, man. Just keep swimming. But that's actually why I went on maths, because it was season 2, and back then they were known as the psychologists, because they are psychologists, and I was told I was going to be very dumb, remember, and naive, very dumb, aware of dumbness.
No, don't say that about yourself.
If you say this now, I didn't know what I was getting into. I thought they were really, I'm sorry if I heard me.
You don't have to say that you don't know what you were getting into, but there's a spectrum. There's, name calling, putting yourself down at one end, a bit of denial at the other, and probably a continuum and a spectrum in between.
Yeah, but this was very naive on my part. I have to say that. But I thought they were going to match me with a safe man, and then they were going to be there and I was going to be safe because I've had a lot of stuff happen. I'm a sexual assault survivor and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be a chance for me to be perfectly matched for someone that's going to be safe. It was incredibly stressful. They throw you into every sort of situation, so they make you explode. It was really awful for both of us. I won't go into everything that happened, but that show was dangerous. And the things that have happened to other people on that show are horrendous, but that's their stories to tell.
I'm so sorry you experienced that. And then that will explain what I saw on your LinkedIn. And I love the way you framed it, because you went on a health and wellbeing career break. And I was like, I like that. Just owning it, going from this year to this year. I'm trying to sort my shit out. How was that for you?
I'm a recruiter, so I know how to put these different things. And the fact of the matter is, I was on a TV show. I can't just be like, oh, I was traveling, which is what everyone says. So I'm just, that's what I said, career break. It was. And look, it was really hard to actually get back into work after that because I embarrassed myself on TV rather epically and then melted down continually on social media and just was not in a good space.
As I understand, you did also take time off work afterwards, no?
Not really. I only took about 3 months off. I kept trying to work through it, but I basically then I ended up in a special private mental health facility for a month that my family had to pay for because I attempted to take my own life. So it was pretty bad.
How are you now?
It's many years on. Good. I don't normally talk about it now. It's not really anything that matters to me now. It's just I find it makes me angry that more people are going through it. I want people to be aware of what's happening. I can be a bit of a social justice warrior generally. It's hard because whenever I speak about it, people think she wants that 15 seconds of fame, and I don't. If I could do this and be invisible, that would be amazing, but I can't. Yeah. I have to be because of the contracts, I'm able to speak out. A lot of others can't. So I feel like I need to, but the splashback is always tough.
Let's talk about living with ADHD and autism. When did you get diagnosed?
Only 2 years ago, which is, in reflection, completely crazy because it's so obvious. We went back through my school reports and from my childhood, obviously, my primary school, one of them says Claire is an incredibly gifted student, but if not interested by the topic, will just get up, leave, and can be found outside doing all kinds of things like I think I started bug slaters. I started a slater army. I was collecting butterflies, making enchanted tree houses. Yeah, out in the gardens. But It was the 80s and 90s, so we just tell you to concentrate, be better, work harder.
Yeah.
So that's what I did until I just continually would burn myself out over and over and over and over and over again.
I'd imagine it'd be quite affirming to understand yourself.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest, it was really strange. I was diagnosed just as everyone was starting to be, because in the pandemic, we all lost, especially women, we lost our structure because we have, a lot of women in general, we're pretty good at really overcoming things ourselves and trying to internalise everything, just make ourselves better instead of just being like, things are really hard. We're like, it must be us. We need to fix it, which is why so many women went undiagnosed. But if we have the structure and we have things right, we can keep it hidden and keep it going. Because we also think this is how everyone else is doing it. I didn't know everyone else wasn't doing this. I just didn't realise that my entire life I've had crippling anxiety. Like, I knew I had anxiety, but I didn't know how bad it was. I've always had a shake my whole life. They didn't know what it was, like quite visible. I can't pour glass. I can't pour water. I couldn't be a waitress. It's a joke, like in my family when they're like, oh, Claire's trying to pour water. Who wants to be covered in it? Because of this tremor I have.
Like maybe don't become a hairdresser.
Oh,
like
it's actually hilarious.
No heart surgery.
Honestly, I wanted to be a vet. I was almost going to be a vet. One of the reasons I couldn't was because of this tremor. And when I started my medication the first day, I wasn't feeling anxious, I would say, that day at all. And then nothing really happened for like an hour. I'm like, knew I didn't have ADHD. And, it was just, it wasn't real and I'm an imposter, knew it. Blah. And then I went, and then I was at the bathroom and suddenly the level of, I would say, baseline anxiety, I would say no anxiety, just fell to like through the floor. And I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah,
and then
the new normal.
This is what everyone else has been like the whole time.
Oh, why didn't anyone tell you?
And then my hand tremor went away. So when I have my medication, I don't shake. So the fact of the matter was my whole life I've been so anxious that I've been physically shaking my entire life and just thought that was normal. So that's how intense my ADHD is. And I speak, this isn't even, my masking's so intense, this isn't even my voice or how I speak. I'm a country kid. I speak like an absolute bogan and I speak very differently.
Do it. Be you. Be you. I'm all about being unashamedly myself.
Well, here's the thing. I've got an Alexa. I have to set it up to 7 different profiles because depending on who I'm with and who I'm masking with, it can't understand my voice. It's funny.
Give me country girl Claire.
Well, the thing is, mate, it's like hard to understand because if I go, this sounds made up, but it is actually where I'm from. I'm from a place called Panton Hill. I grew up on a goat farm, riding horses, but I did go to a fancy school. So whenever I go home, see my mates and we have a good chat, I'm like, how you doing, mate? And we just go into these little things and just people can't understand us. I'll literally be like, oh, mate, you know that. It's all through my nose. And then I come back and I have this, people like, what part of the UK have you stayed in? And I'm like, no, this is my fancy voice. So it's very interesting. But finding out at I was about to turn 40, so it's a middle-age crisis, which is weird because I still feel like a child. But now just everything hurts and I make noises when I stand up and sit down, was a complete identity crisis. Because, okay, so what is the ADHD and the symptoms of the ADHD? What is the autism and the symptoms of the autism? What is masking? Who the F am I? Who am I? Because I don't know. I've been so busy trying to make everyone...
You've been pretending. You've been busy pretending.
I've been acting so much trying to make everyone happy and doing a terrible job, by the way, but trying so hard that I had no idea who I actually really was. So I had to spend... it was a really hard 18 months where I became a bit of a dick, ask my friends, and would not stop talking about ADHD. And I also admit that I was diagnosed with ADHD and mild autism at the same time. I was quite loud about the ADHD. I didn't tell anyone about the autism diagnosis for a year because I felt really embarrassed about it.
Do you think because at the time when you were diagnosed with ADHD, other quite well-known women were being diagnosed in their 30s and 40s as well? Did you think that the ADHD was more acceptable and functional, whereas the autism perhaps wasn't?
I was diagnosed by my psychologist because you do the same test about 8 months before all that happened. But then the waiting lists are ridiculous. So it took like a year for me to get in to actually get through the actual process. And it cost like $3,000. Don't even start me on how... And it's such a hard process. It's like There's so many steps. If you have ADHD, you probably won't get through the steps. It's the most un-ADHD friendly process to get diagnosed in the history of the world. So I had a bit of time to, I guess, between the psychologist saying that to me and me saying, ADHD, no, that's for boys who can't sit still and yell and scream and throw things at teachers and can't have red cordial or their mum gets very upset.
Yeah.
That is not me. Have you not seen me rocking at life? Not rocking at life. And, so he sort of spent about 4 months going, you've got ADHD, and I spent 4 months arguing with him, which was a very expensive argument, until I did that test. So I had a bit of time, I think, to come to terms with it. And then, other people were coming out and speaking about it, and I learnt more a bit about it, and I was just like, oh, it's not what I thought it was. It's this, and this. Like the rejection sensitivity dysphoria. I take things, rejection, not from work. Like I work in recruitment, I work in sales. I get rejected and hung up on a lot. I don't mind about that. But personal rejection hits me so hard. Like if a friend doesn't text me back, I spend all day thinking that they must hate me. But with the autism diagnosis, I don't think I really understood it. I don't think... in my head, autism was only as I've seen it on TV, which is so over the top and yelling. It's only just one side of it. I didn't realise the other elements of it, like the fact that for me, I hate looking people in the eye. So often if I'm looking you in the eye, I'm not listening because in my head I'm like, first of all, I'm not looking in the eye, I'm looking between your eyebrows. In my head, I'm like looking between the eyebrows, and between the eyebrows. That's all that's going in my head, so I have no idea what you're saying.
And so you can't actually hear what they're saying?
No. Also with ADHD, I interrupt all the time because I think so fast. So I listen to podcasts 2 times the speed. So that's how fast I usually speak incredibly fast. I'm really trying to focus on speaking slowly.
I like how you did that. Really trying to, you packed away the pace, you put away the farm girl, and you're really committed. I'm impressed, Claire.
Well, this is not how I speak. I am a mile a minute. So if you talk to me normally, this is how fast I normally talk. I've got a friend called Gabby who lives in my complex. She has ADHD as well. This is how we talk. Then other people come up and try to have a conversation and they're like, we have a great time. We get a lot done very fast. Other people, but it's conscious.
How are you now that you have your diagnosis? I'm imagining you have some treatment. Are you feeling happier or, still in a place where you're regulating, masking and trying to make other people happy?
Not as much. That's the thing. In this time, I did go too far. I was like, well, I'm not masking anything and everyone gets stuffed. You're an asshole to your face. You're an asshole to your face. That was a bit too far. So then I had to rein it in.
Yeah.
Now look, I'm sort of still working through and finding out who I am, and it's perfect midlife crisis time, so everyone else is as well. All my male friends have taken up marathons.
Oh, very good.
Midlife crisis. I'm good. I'm happy. And the thing is, when it comes to the mental health stuff, because I'd done so much work on myself after maths, when we did hit the pandemic, I was the one looking after everyone because I'm like, all right, I had everything to say on. I knew everyone who was showing the slightest sign that I could feel that they were failing. I knew all the little things to do.
Great.
And everyone's just like, a lot of my friends are like, she got us through the pandemic. And I'm like, that toolbox I built, had it ready to go.
Oh, that's great. Good on Dory. She came and she helped others as well.
Yeah, and she forgot a lot of the other stuff too.
I want to talk about something that makes you happy, and that's animals.
Yes.
So you did, as you mentioned, you were a vet nurse, but
yes,
you didn't pursue that because I got the sense that it was because of the shakes and a whole bunch of different things.
Also, it's exceptionally boring, and we don't pay vet nurses anything, everybody.
Oh, I didn't know that. So you left vet nursing and you started Wild Animal Rescue, which is an organisation that does dog rescue, specialising in large and senior dogs.
That's right. So, look, I've grew up on a farm with working dogs, and dogs have always been, and animals have always been my great love. And I realise now that probably is because of my autism. Everyone has different types, I guess, and different spectrums. Some people have the handy type where you know how to count numbers and become a billionaire and stuff. I've got animal autism, which makes you no money but just makes animals follow you about like Cinderella. It's kind of
But animals also bring so much joy.
They do. And I just understand them and they understand me. So I have so much joy working with rescue animals. I've always done, I did it as a child as well. My mum she is a wildlife carer for kangaroos. She raises kangaroos. It's genetic, the crazy animalness. And so I've just had so many dogs through with so many issues, and I take on the really difficult ones because I am a qualified behaviourist from 20 years ago, but still qualified. And I work with them and work through their things and their roadblocks, because I guess for me, I can see why things are occurring. It's not training. I'm not like, I just can see, okay, for example, I'll get a lot of dogs that come to me and they're like, this one is too aggressive. This is so aggressive, can't be rehomed. For example, I had one that I actually kept who passed away last year called Hodor. He was a 75-kilo Mastiff. His original name was Demon. He was so aggressive, he had almost killed another dog, and he would really go you. But the reason was he was just terrified. He was just really scared. So we worked together.
Well, the name set him up for failure as well. Demon.
It did. And he was, exactly. And he was a Hodor, absolutely to his core. Giant, could be really scary and accidentally snap someone's neck if needed.
Yeah.
But just he would hold the door and be eaten alive for you, that dog, and would always hold the door when I tried to open the door into my house because he'd lie against it and I physically couldn't get inside. I'd be like, Hodor, you're literally holding the door. He'd be like, yay, Mum's home, coming. I'm like, I can't get in to say hi because you're blocking the door. But, working with that. And what I realised now is animals help me regulate my emotions, which I'm not able to do hadn't been able to do on my own. So when I'm feeling really stressed and really anxious or whatever it may be, I can't, and sort of never really bothered to do that self-care for myself, just self-regulate and bring myself down, because I just think, bugger it. But I'll do it, regulate myself to make a dog comfortable. So like if we're out on the street, so much of the time it's fear aggression and they'll be reacting and going other dogs. And then what will happen is the people will get scared and it's all through the lead, and then they'll see another dog, the person will get scared and tighten them up, and then that dog will get scared because the person's getting scared. It's just this big circle of everyone being scared and anxious. And then I come in and I have to regulate myself to make sure the dog feels safe and knows, I've got you, mate. I've got you. You're safe. You're safe. You don't need to react because you're safe. And what will end up happening is they'll just start looking up and checking in with me. Instead of reacting, we'll walk towards the dog. They'll check in. I'm like, I've got you, bro. And off we'll go. And they stop reacting. And I'm a trainer as well. It's just, it's magical to watch.
Oh, I've just seeing the calm and the happiness in your voice as you talk about dogs and talk about that work. It's really beautiful to watch. I do wonder if, we heard once people started going back to work after lockdowns that there are a lot of dogs that were kind of pandemic puppies that were sent off to the pound. Is that still an issue? Are there still too many dogs needing to find a home?
Yeah, it's we're in crisis at the moment. It's been pretty much a crisis for the last 2 years in rescue because everyone decided to get a COVID puppy or a COVID dog, which meant a lot of people took advantage of that financially, started breeding huge numbers of dogs to make money. And then people had these dogs that they didn't socialise. They were at home 24/7. Dogs are a pack animal. They're meant to be around people. And then everyone went back to work. So they're just riddled with behavioural issues, a lot of separation anxiety, fear, aggression. Everyone was so stressed during that time. The dogs are stressed from during that time. We desperately, desperately, desperately need foster carers because the thing is the shelter environment for those dogs is so stressful. If you can imagine you're stressed and you're put into an area of just all these other dogs distressed and barking, it's just so stressful. And some of those dogs are there for months and months and months, and they just need a home and somebody to give them a chance. So we just need carers. We need foster carers.
I will say something, and I'm going to make an admission. I'm one of those awful people. I've never had a pet before. I'm one of those awful people who got a designer dog, a cavoodle, during lockdowns. And I've now fallen in love with dogs. He is my world. I adore him, but he's very socialised. We do everything. Because I love him so much and I realised, I probably should get more dogs. I went to have a look at RSPCA, my local RSPCA, to find another dog, realising, now that I have a dog, I realise I probably did it. I did it the breeding route rather than finding a dog that needs help. So I looked and tried to find one, but most of them listed that, actually all of them listed that they had behavioural issues and that they weren't suitable for children or no children under the age of 15. And I've got young kids, and so I really want to help, but I also don't have the skills to deal with their trauma. Like, so for someone like me who's open to it but has children, what are my options?
That's where you're best off going to a rescue organisation, because the rescue organisation, so you've got your shelters, and then they'll try to move those dogs into rescue organisations, like what I was doing with Wildwood. So I take dogs in, I get foster carers, and we'd work through those behavioural problems, which is what I would do as well. Sometimes it would take months, sometimes it takes hardly any time at all. It really depends on the dog. They take a while to decompress. Takes, like, the dog that you initially get is not the dog that you'll have in a week, and it's not the dog you'll have in 3 months, which a lot of people don't understand as well. People will return them after 24 hours. I'm like, that dog is literally just come out of basically prison, is so terrified, doesn't know what's going on. Give it a sec. But with those kinds of situations, the reason they say no kids under 15 is just they don't want the risk. Because with younger kids, if they're in a shelter, they don't know these dogs particularly well. They've got great behavioural teams. At shelters like the Lost Dogs Home have a fantastic behavioural team. They put a lot of work and time into those dogs, like so much time and work. But there's only so much you can do in that shelter environment without bringing their stress levels down. So you get them off into foster carers through smaller rescue organisations, and they can be in foster care for months, and then you'll know then if they're going to be okay with kids or not.
This has been the most wonderful chat. I've learnt so much about you, enough about maths to be convinced that I've made the decision to never watch it. And I'd love to witness your journey, your vulnerability, but just the immense amount of happiness and joy you have with animals. It's beautiful.
I am, animals bring me incredible joy. I'm very lucky in that respect to have so many in my life. And they bring me, and to be able to, I guess, help foster dogs on that pathway to their forever home. Because people say to me, how can you foster? Because I fostered like close to 80 or 90 dogs now. People say, personally fostered, how can you foster them and then let them go? And I say, you love them with a different part of your heart. You love them completely, but with a different part, because your job is to help them to their journey to their forever person. It's not to steal them and shove them into your life. It's to let them find their person. And it's the best feeling in the whole world.
Oh, they're lucky to have you, and we're very lucky to have you on the Weekend Briefing. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
So good.
Told you I could talk the back legs off a donkey.
I loved it though. I learned so much.
Didn't even touch on anything else. You didn't even tell you what's happened to me this week. I saw Taylor Swift twice with the most random, but the most crazy ways.
Yeah,
I got a
right.
Taylor Swift tattoo. So this week has been a big week for me because I'm a massive OG Taylor Swift fan. Anyway, managed to go with some random people from Instagram that I didn't know in the nosebleeds to Melbourne. A Melbourne show, never met them before, great new friends. Shout out to Brooke, you're the best. And then also got to go to Sydney as well, was flown up and got to go in a corporate box through some people that I saved their dog. But in between, with my new Instagram friend that I met randomly to go to Taylor Swift with, Brooke, I decided to get a tattoo. She's like, we're going to get a tattoo of Taylor Swift. And I'm like, in. That's my thought process, ADHD, make decisions fast.
Yeah.
They're like, what are you going to get off this flash sheet? And I said, the patriarchy. Because I've always been a staunch feminist. That's how my mother has raised me. But this is going to make me sound like one of those horrific, performative, white cis feminists. This is a very embarrassing but hilarious thing. Here we go. So I thought I'll get it as a tramp stamp because I don't have a tramp stamp at 40. We all have forgotten about the tramp stamp. We're like, tramp stamp, we all just laugh. It's just the best. I thought I'll get it as a tramp stamp because then it says patriarchy. And if someone says that's a tramp stamp, I can say, would you say that if I was a man and start an argument?
Yeah.
Funny. I thought that they knew how to spell. I can't spell. It's a thing. I can't spell at all. I can't spell my own middle name, so I pretend I don't have one. So it's not even on my driver's license.
So, but if you picked it, wasn't it there for them
I picked it off the sheet. Exactly. As it turned out, luckily no one else had picked that off the sheet. And I did, and it wasn't until, because it was on my back, and I had new Instagram friend, Brooke. I'm like, watch my back. She did not literally have my back, as it turned out, because she also can't spell or see what's straight either, but is what it is. I took a picture of it and sent it to my family group chat and said, I'm so pleased with this decision. This is my announcement of getting a tattoo. And this is the best choice ever. And I got it as a tramp stamp. Lol. My sister, who's a teacher, comes back and says, Periarchy? They'd made the T and I, and my tattoo said the periarchy. And then I wrote, and then my mum's reaction, and I know I'm 40, but I was hoping to get some kind of like, a tattoo, and never. She just wrote, spelling was never your forte, darling.
Oh, Can you fix it?
It's fixed. They fixed it up, and then she was the tattoo artist was devastated.
That is quite possibly my favourite, attempted feminist stance.
Yeah, it's so embarrassing because I am actually a staunch feminist. That's how I was raised. Annoyingly so. But it's such a performative white cis feminist woman thing to do, to get the patriarchy tattooed on their back. Anyway, it's fixed down, says the patriarchy, but I will forever, in all too well, be screaming the patriarchy.
The patriarchy. You know what? The patriarchy, and the patriarchy can get too. This is amazing. I have laughed a lot. You were awesome.
It's so
great to connect. I'll happily go to a concert with you, not Taylor Swift because I'm not a fan. And I'm also up for tattoos. I am a very good speller. So I suspect
right.
I'd be a better friend than Brooke.
Yeah, Brooke, bad. That did not have my back. As it turns out, don't just completely trust people you met on Instagram 48 hours ago.
The brilliant, the hilarious, the huge-hearted Clare Verrall. If you'd like to listen all again, you can do so on the listener page on YouTube, where you can watch the video too. And of course, another reminder, if you need help, Lifeline is there on 13 11 14. So from one reality TV queen to another, this week I, Antoinette Lattouf, feature on Abby Chatfield's podcast, It's a Lot, where we go deep on what's going on with my very public legal case with the ABC. But that is it from me today. But lucky for you, we've got another episode of the Weekend Briefing tomorrow with Tom Tilley. Hey, Tom, what have you got for us?
Yeah, in this episode of the Weekend Briefing, I'll be going deep with Wendell Saylor. He's the former dual international rugby league and rugby union player, one of the most recognisable players from the 90s and 2000s, with a huge story. Talks about his childhood in North Queensland. He was adopted, his rise in rugby league and rugby union. He weighs in on the latest racism scandal in the NRL, plus talks about the way his career ended, which was a 2-year ban for cocaine use. He talks openly about his mistakes and what he learned from them. It's a great chat with Wendell Saylor.
I'll catch you next week, guys.
Listener.